Michael, in a sentence, two sentences, you're allowed a little bit. What is the greatness of Hamlet? Okay, if somebody out there in our webcast, I don't think it's true. There's nobody who hasn't seen 14 Hamlets. But if somebody hasn't seen 14 Hamlets, why should they? What is the greatness of Hamlet? And then the three of you say that in a nutshell, and then we'll go on to Shakespeare in general.
That's very tough, Ken. But so after talking about it again recently for about 24 hours, here's what I would say. It's a story about a young person who realizes that he himself is a mystery to himself.
Great.
He finds that frustrating. He looks behind him to memory. He looks ahead of him to the hereafter, to be or not to be. But at the end, he discovers that he should let the mystery just be. And I think that is a full story arc of a person going from frustration to maturity to self-knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And the answer to be or not to be is?
Let be.
And that was answered by Hamlet later in the play, after he paraphrases Mark with the fall of the sparrow.
I mean, that's a great, I think, description of that. I mean, the thing I love about it is...
And I took some of it from you, so...
Well, thank you. I feel like the play is always resonant. It's always powerful. It's always revealing new things. I feel like it also, the role itself, not necessarily the play, but the role forms to the individual. It's a truly unique role in the sense that it's constantly challenging the individual to actually bring themselves to the role more than you're bringing yourself to the role. I remember other actors I knew that had played it before. They said things to me even before I played it. They would say, "You'll never get it right. It's bigger than all of us. You'll never get it. You'll never get it 100%. Some nights you'll have 25%. Some nights you'll feel like you're 45%." And that pursuit is everything in it. And I do feel like that's why great actors are drawn to it. I feel like every production you see is a new thing. There's new layers of comedy depending on who's playing it. There's new layers of tragedy. There's new layers of nobility. All of these things. And it is in our conscience, our strata now, because it also is this existential debate, which is how you, in a huge set of circumstances, how do you as the individual exist in those circumstances?
This is a big question. Let me say yesterday morning I spoke to Matthew Warkus, the creative director for the Old Vic, which hosted a tremendous amount of Hamlets, including Peter O'Toole's Hamlet in 1964, directed by Laurence Olivier. And he said Hamlet, of all Shakespeare plays, has more words as it relates to family. Daughter, son, uncle, father, king. And it's repeated often. So it's far and away above all the plays. The words family are core to this. So I think, in life, we don't get to pick our family. We do get to pick our friends. And that's a real interesting part of growing up. And I see Hamlet as the quintessential play about an individual becoming not only self-realized, but all the sort of potential, like I said, the Russian nesting doll, all the potential different states of consciousness. There's no other play where we see an individual go through so many different states of consciousness. And so we see the human being not in such a flat two-dimensional way as other plays in some cases, but in a real multi-dimensional way that's hard for the audience even to grasp sometimes. And it's a real challenge for the actors and the director to put forth this play, because it's an almost impossibility to capture all of these things so that the audience understands it. But for sure, Hamlet is the embodiment of the Renaissance man. And the idea of Ophelia being the partner of the Renaissance man requires, I think, that we give her the benefit of the doubt, and we consider what happens off stage, and we consider that this fire that you see in her. And by the way, her singing is, I've seen it where there was actually a beautiful singing. Her singing is never talked about, but it's really a person coming to the end of their life and seeing the agony and the soul of what happens when it's over. So we see not only the flowering of youth and the development of the individual, but we see the end. We see the end. And when Hamlet says the rest is silence, there's such a release with that line. Because we're really brought into this play, it's a crucible. It moves so fast. It's so intense. There's nothing else like it, like our lives. If we look back on it, life can move quickly like this, and it is a crucible. We burn our way. One of my favorite quotes from Albert Camus is that the question is not can we live with our passions, because our passions simultaneously burn the heart as it exalts the heart. And never more is it more true than in Hamlet.